Got married at 18, had my first daughter at 19. The marriage was not compatible. We fought a lot, and when I say fight, I mean fight.
I was in Afghanistan. I was deployed, and she was messing around with someone else, and then she ended up getting pregnant. I found out deployed, and then it made all this drama.
Was it somebody that you knew?
It was multiple people. You didn't know who the dad was.
I didn't really trust men at that point.
I'm like, I don't trust women. I will not have anything to do with women. And so it was just this game breaking down all those walls that had been built up.
He didn't have to take that on, and he did, even though I had a lot of baggage. This is the sensitive side of me that's coming out.
What do you think is the biggest misconception about you guys?
That I don't love my first daughter and that I'm hiding her.
We sat down with TikTok stars Kay and Tay to talk about their life before fame. Recently, they celebrated the birth of their first child together, which came as a surprise. But what most people don't know is this wasn't either of their first experiences with pregnancy. Tay's ex-wife cheated on him and got pregnant while he was deployed in Afghanistan. Kay, on the other hand, got pregnant at 19 and has a 12-year-old daughter that she has joint custody over. She doesn't show her 12-year-old daughter on any of her TikTok videos, and up to this point, she has stayed silent about it. We talk about all this and so much more in today's interview.
What's up, dudes? And welcome back to the Unplanned podcast.
Woohoo!
Hey!
Yeah.
Today we are joined by Kay and Tay. Thank you guys for being here.
Yeah.
We are so stoked to have you on the podcast.
We're also excited.
We are so stoked y'all invited us.
And congratulations on the birth of your baby. Oh my gosh, she's adorable.
you.
She's literally here in the room.
She's a part of the podcast.
She really wanted to be involved.
Yeah, she just wanted to be a part of the podcast today, so she's here. And
She's loving it.
we were talking before the podcast, talking about how life didn't always look this way. Like there were times of like being low income and things being hard. And I think I read something online about you guys saying that like you were in debt at one point. And I'm curious, like talk to us about that, because I feel like it's a side of your life that a lot of people don't see online.
Yeah, neither of us came from a lot of money. I mean, when we got married, we didn't really have any money. We had like a little bit of money. I say that, but then we also went backpacking to Europe with... We weren't very smart. We were young. And so all the money that we did have, we spent it on a trip to Europe and then had no money.
But for the record,
That's hilarious.
For the record, we
That wasn't
wanted
a lot
to
of
have,
money,
we
though.
wanted to have a big wedding, and we had some money saved up, and we didn't want to spend all of the money on a wedding. We started thinking about it, and we were like, this is one night. We're basically paying all this money to throw this big party for everybody else when we're not even going to probably get to sit down and eat the food or do anything, and we're going to be stressed the whole time. So why don't we spend this money on something that's just about us? And so we went on like this really epic honeymoon backpacking extravaganza.
And I say all our money, but it wasn't even, it was less than $10,000, the money that I had saved over the course of like 7 years at that point. Like that was the rest of our money. But I felt like me and Kay,
but the memories,
that was the start, and I wanted to have that big event in the beginning. And so we were okay like using what we had to make those memories and have that moment, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And like the $9,000 would have, like I would have survived a few months on that, because we moved to Alabama. We didn't have jobs. We didn't, you know what I mean? So I don't know. So yeah.
It ended up working out in the end. So, we didn't spend all of our money, but we definitely built like some amazing memories, and now we're here. So,
Yeah.
it all worked out. But yes, we did not come from money, neither of us. So we've had to work extremely hard in our lives, like
multiple jobs.
Yeah, I was working multiple jobs at one point. When school he was in engineering school, which is very hard towards the last like couple years. It's very time consuming. So there were points where he couldn't work anymore, and so I was the only one making money. And at the time, it was like my dental assisting job was not bringing in that much money, but it was enough to survive on. And funny enough, that's actually when we started our TikTok, was during that period of time when I was the only one working. So
I think that's probably why we had
time. And you come from the military, which you were in the military, right? Tay,
yeah.
Like, Kay, you didn't do the military, but was it? I think we were saying off podcast. You guys met in the town that you grew up in because you were stationed there, or you were training there, or what happened?
Yeah, so I was in the Air Force, and I had just got back from deployment. I had actually been there for over a year before I deployed, and I didn't meet Kay until after the deployment.
Yeah.
And so I got back, and I ended up meeting her through like mutual friends, and it turns out she had been there the whole time and like been kind of friends in that friend group, but I had just never met her. And like the first time I saw her, it was like an immediate connection, and I was like, I can remember we hung out with some friends, and then afterwards I was like, talking to all my friends, and I was like, what was the brown-haired girl's name? She had darker hair at the time.
Oh, really?
It was like a dirty blonde.
I had like a darker hair, and he was like, the girl with the brown hair, with the brown hair, and that's the only way he knew me, even though I told you my name.
Yeah, but well,
he just didn't remember my name.
But I was like immediately.
And one of my friends reached out to us and was like, or reached out to me on Snapchat, and she was like, "Hey, Tay wants your number," and I was like, "Okay." So and then it just kind of went from there. It was really.
What year was that?
That was 2014.
2015.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because
was it 2014 or 15?
No, it was 2014.
14. It was 2014.
End of 2014.
Oh my gosh,
It was November of 2014.
Do you miss the early days of your relationship at all? Like, do you like the time now that you have together, or do you like look back and you're like, oh man, it was so fun. We were so spontaneous. We went backpacking and all throughout Europe. You know, I don't know.
So that was our. Because, you say struggle, and I say, yeah, well, we started our life with a bad financial decision. But that was the thing that I always went back to. Like, for the, that moment, that period of time that we backpacked, I looked back at that all the time. And, when I was in school and she was working and I was working and we had these long nights, it was like, I always did look back. And I think you always look back when there's like, even when you're struggling in the moment, you hate it, but then you look back and you're like you really
I grew so much.
Yeah, you grew
that.
or you connect with that time. You know what I mean? Like, I guess it's hard to explain. I don't think we would
be as appreciative of what we've accomplished now if we didn't struggle so much in the beginning. And like, even growing up, like, I mean, I would consider, I guess, middle class, but like, I didn't have any clothes that I wanted. I didn't have all the Abercrombie and stuff that everybody had. And just coming from that and now being able to, I guess, live differently, like, I'm just more appreciative of it, because I didn't start from that.
And I think you guys went from like 1 million to 9 million followers on TikTok in a matter of a year. Holy cow. Like,
crazy.
What happened? What's
I'm
the
still
secret?
asking myself.
How did you guys hack the algorithm? Like, what did you do?
I don't know. It was just Kay's face, man. She's so funny. It's just Kay in general. She's so funny.
I'm funny?
Yes. Everything Kay does, funny. I can't help but laugh. Like, everything. She's so funny.
I don't know.
I think it was a content switch. I think when we started, we weren't really sure what we wanted to do with content, and so we were just kind of jumping around and doing trends and stuff. Yeah. And then finally we were just like, let's just show our life. And I just started filming Kay, and because I fell in love with Kay for the same reasons that everyone else did, because she's so funny and she's so interesting, and all the like, oh God, sorry.
Don't make me cry today.
How thankful she is. Like, everyone's always like, oh, Tay does so much for Kay, but it's like, of course I do, because I can like come in with a bag of chips and Kay is like, you didn't. Like, that bag of chips, you're so nice. Like, just her reactions, I think that's what did it.
There's something about your content that just like affected me too. I was in my head, I was like, is this real? Because like, you guys are so sweet to each other and so like precious, thankful, like thoughtful. I'm like, man, I could really take a page out of their books because they're so sweet. And then a part of me is like, is this real? Do you guys get asked that all the time? Like, is this real? And then I guess, like, how do you keep that in your marriage? Because you've been married a decent amount of time. And you guys, like you said, have been through some hard times. Like, how do you keep that in your marriage? Like, that freshness?
For one, yes, it is real. We fight. I mean, every couple of fights. And I, for one, feel like if you're not fighting, if you're not having disagreements, which is
I hate the word fight, because
it's
people
not,
use the word fight as like aggression,
like a physical
right. And so I don't
energy.
even like calling it fights, but do we have disagreements? 100% we do. And if you didn't have disagreements, that's a red flag in my opinion. It's healthy to have healthy disagreements and conversations about things that you don't see the same page on. But he has always been so like gift giving, nurturing. If I'm not feeling well, he wants to help any way he can. That's just his personality type.
I think the time benefits us. We learn that.
I think I, for one, feel so extra thankful. I've always been a sensitive person, and I have been told my whole life, like, you got to toughen up, or like, you're too sensitive. I've been told that forever, as long as I can remember. But I tend to cry a lot, and I'm more emotional than some. But I did I didn't have a previous relationship that I could feel myself in. And I feel like with him, like, he brings out the best of me. He brings out all the, the sensitive side that I can bring out, if that makes sense.
I just love when I like that she shows emotions. I like that, I want her to show the emotion she feels, because there's something unnatural about feeling like you have to hide something that you're feeling. And I feel like that's so normal nowadays. It's like, oh, toughen up. But no, if you feel like you want to cry, do it. That's something your body wants to do for a reason. You should, I don't know. Mm-hmm. So maybe that, I kind of support it, I guess.
I let it out too, girl. Don't worry.
I feel like our personality types just really click. And I don't think a lot of people find that in their soulmates. I think people think that they found their soulmates a lot of times, and they don't, and maybe that's why divorce rates are so high. But I truly feel like Taylor and I click so well together, because everything about me works so well with everything about him. It's really weird. Mm.
But it's
we
also
still have arguments, we still fight, but we just work so well together, and we know how to talk things out and not have super loud yelling matches,
And it didn't start. You said how long we've been together. I feel like that's actually made it better, because you learn what gets to a person and what doesn't, and then you can say, I'm not gonna say things a certain way because that might trigger them to be angry, or that might make them upset. And so over time you learn all these little details, and then you know what to avoid and you know what to lean into, and that's what kind of strengthens your relationship.
Yeah.
I'm curious because I think initially with the story of your pregnancy and everything, excuse me, I assumed that this was your first pregnancy, but I know that you have a daughter as well. You have 2 daughters, and so I guess my question is were you previously married before Tay?
I was. So this isn't something we've really been able to go into depth on our channel, because we just post short. There's not a lot of time to really go into depth. But yes, I got married at 18. I got pregnant and had my first daughter at 19. The marriage was not good. It was not compatible. We fought a lot. And when I say fight, I mean fight. It wasn't like Taylor and I's arguments.
That's why I don't like the word fight.
Yeah. Because so I've lived that, and I know how much harder it can be to be in that kind of relationship. But I did end up getting divorced, and now we have joint custody. So yeah, that's kind of a little short. He's been in her life since she was 3, and she doesn't know life without Taylor. She's very close to Taylor. He's like the play parent. He's sat in the floor and played Barbies with her, and he's just so hands-on with her, and they're very close. In fact, I would say he is one of her best friends. Aww. You wrote her a card one year for her birthday, and it was I think this was actually 2022, because it was at my Gigi's house when she had cancer. So yeah, it was that birthday. But he wrote her a card, and it was thank you for being my best friend. And it was made me cry.
That's precious.
But they are very close, and I'm so thankful, because he didn't have to take that on, and he did, even though I had a lot of baggage. This is the sensitive side of me that's coming out, and I shouldn't. Whew. If it doesn't fall, it's not real.
Yeah, there you go.
If it doesn't fall, it's not real.
This episode of the Unplanned podcast is brought to you by Huggies Little Movers.
We got a couple little movers in this household.
So Huggies knows that babies come in all shapes and sizes, and their tushies too. Huggies' best fitting diaper is their Little Movers with its curved and stretchy fit. Moms know that there's nothing worse than an ill-fitting diaper, especially for your active babies. Isn't that the worst, when a diaper doesn't fit and then you have blowout city? Just blowout after blowout.
Blowout out the back, blowout out the legs.
There's just nothing more frustrating than when the diaper doesn't fit. When you buy the cheaper diapers that aren't the best quality, then you get more blowouts.
And honestly, diaper rash.
Yes, because it doesn't keep them as dry.
It's not keeping them as dry. Huggies keeps them dry, keeps them comfortable, while they can still move and groove around.
Huggies Little Movers are curved, so our babies feel comfy no matter how much they're moving around. And our kids do move around a lot. They're very active.
Honestly, Augie showed signs of crawling.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I'll show you the video.
He'll roll over over and over again, but I have not seen him attempt to crawl. That's crazy.
Oh, he's tried.
Holy cow.
He didn't get anywhere, but it'll be any day now. And they're so cute, too. They have little Lion King images on them, the ones that we have. It's really adorable. And you know what? You cannot beat less blowouts as a parent. You do not need that. You do not
No.
No.
And Huggies Little Movers also offer up to 12-hour protection against leaks, which is definitely a game changer. Get your baby's butt into Huggies' best fitting diaper. Huggies Little Movers. We got you, baby. Now, back to the episode.
Tay, did you know initially, because I think we were talking a little bit about how you guys
The brown
met.
hair girl.
Oh, yeah, the brown hair girl. Did you know that the brown hair girl had this beautiful daughter, or did it take a couple dates or something to learn that information?
It wasn't day one. Like, I didn't learn that day we met, but it wasn't long after. I mean, like, within the first few conversations, Kay's very, like, that's like her favorite topic is talking about kins. And now Ellie, like, you know, like, she's been nonstop this whole time. Oh, sorry. About Ellie. So, I mean, like, I knew very quickly. And it wasn't like something I was...
And he didn't make me want to run away. He didn't get to meet her for, like, 6 months.
Yeah, you were really careful.
So I was very careful because I didn't want to just introduce anybody to her. So it was a good 6 months before he met her.
So at this point, you were 22, and you were divorced and you had a daughter. What were you like? I can't even imagine being at that place in your life. Was it something you were like, this is a fresh start, or were you just like?
I was really scared, to be honest, because I didn't really trust men at that point. I didn't have any faith in finding somebody that would accept her and me. And be worth a darn because of what I had experienced. So
I feel like we were both on the same page.
And him as well. I mean, we both kind of, when we first started talking, we both were like, I don't know if I really want to pursue anything with this because we had both been hurt so badly. And we just were kind of open with each other in the beginning with that. Obviously, it flourished into something, and it was just irresistible.
It's like we were fighting ourselves.
We
didn't want to have a relationship because we had been hurt and like we weren't into relationships. But we were like, but we want to spend all our time together.
So we were literally hanging out every single day, but we didn't want to like commit, I guess, because we were just so scared of getting hurt again.
How long did that take to go from we're just friends? This is not, we don't like it. We're just friends. This is not going to go anywhere. How long did it take for that to turn into more than a friendship?
I would say like 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
Of like kind of fighting it.
And was it like an everyday, like were you hanging out every day?
We were hanging out.
I don't know about you guys, like when Abby and I first met, like we literally talked every day. And then we were long distance, so like we FaceTimed an hour minimum every day.
Yep.
So I'm sure you guys were hanging out a lot.
We were, and we would just, and even once we like got together, I'm not saying like we broke up and got together, but we would talk to each other and, you know, be like, what is this going to be? Like it was almost like we were still fighting it even after we said, okay, we're going to be together. You know, it took months.
I would say at like that 4-month mark, it got to the point where we were like, okay, we're going to take this seriously.
We're going to try it. Yeah.
And then ever since then, it's just.
But yeah, every day.
Only been each other.
We're just friends.
And I'm curious. I'm curious from your perspective, Tay, like finding out, okay, if I like end up marrying this girl, I'm gonna be a dad right away. How did that make you feel? Because I don't know about you, but like I guess were you 21 at the time where you first met? For me, like when we found out we were pregnant and I was 23, I was like, am I too young to be a dad? Like I just felt so young, and I felt like I didn't have it figured out yet. And so, what was going through your mind? I guess?
There was definitely a lot of fears because, you know, that's like a whole nother person's life that you're now like responsible for suddenly. But then also it's like, I don't know if I called myself an outsider at the time. But, I was an outsider coming in, taking on a responsibility. And like, I guess I didn't really, because at first I didn't do any parenting. I kind of, because I didn't feel like
it was very hands-off.
It was right for me to come in from the outside and say, hey, Kinsley shouldn't eat that, or Kinsley shouldn't do that, because you know what I mean? And so I guess it just kind of happened naturally. It was like very scared, like I don't know, you know, what I'm going to do, you know, if I became a stepdad. But then it kind of turned into, okay, well, I'll be, you know, a step parent, but I'll be really hands off. And then eventually it just kind of naturally flowed into, okay, I'm just her step parent. I might as well be another dad to her, you know. And
at this point, it's been nearly 10 years.
Yeah, it's almost 10 years. So it's like, Kinsley's just my daughter too, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
And you said you also came from like rough relationships and stuff. Were you previously divorced also?
Yeah, so I also got married really young, high school sweetheart. And then I think what happened was, we weren't right for each other, but we got together anyway. And a whole fiasco ended up happening where I was deployed and she was messing around with someone else. And then she ended up getting pregnant. And then like I found out deployed, and then it made all this drama. And so I came, like, you could see where I would be standoffish.
I'm confused. She got pregnant while she was married to you?
Yeah. While I was deployed.
So sorry.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
it works out.
It works out.
Yeah. Honestly,
You're like, a lot of
works
time has
out.
passed.
it really
but
was
that
hard.
is-
Like, I think back to, like, I was in Afghanistan, and, like, I
Mentally.
can remember those moments of them, like, pulling me in and being like, we know what happened. And, like, me, like, I wasn't allowed to, like, sit and, like, we did, like, patrols, and we would do things where we were in, like, towers at some points. Like, this was, like, a little fob that I was on, like, a forward operating base. So it wasn't, like, a big base. This was, like, this small thing. There was, like, 26 of us. And I wasn't allowed to be alone anymore. And it was just this weird... I was in this weird daze for so long.
Because they were worried about you? They
Well,
wouldn't let
because,
you be alone?
that's like that typical story, right? You get deployed, you're in a combat zone, and then something horrible happens back home, and then,
I feel like
what
there's
happens to
been movies
military
written
people
about
when
it.
the stress gets high, and, those rates are high, and so... And so they're, like, very careful.
People actually take their own life, like, when something like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Of course, yeah. And especially deployed, because you're already in the middle of nowhere, wearing camouflage all day long. You don't have real clothes. You wear your military uniform all day and night, and you're I was living in a Connex box with a little bathroom built into it.
What is that? What is
A
it?
Connex box, like a shipping container.
Really?
I'm living in a shipping container that they put a door on the side of.
Were you, like, on the front lines? Like, I don't know.
Well, I was just
exactly
in Afghanistan.
Okay.
They space the bases out, and there's FOBs and there's bases, and I was just in one of the FOBs. FOBs being a base near a main base.
Okay.
Where activity goes in and out. The mission was weird. We just, like, protected people. It's kind of irrelevant, but and so it was weird. Like,
How did they, if you don't mind me asking, how did they tell you? Like, or how did you find out about her?
I found out
infidelity?
from her initially. She, like, texted me, and she was like, I guess it had already gotten out.
How long had you been married at this point?
About a year.
Okay.
Yeah, about a year.
And you're just, like, 20 years old.
She texted you that she was pregnant?
She was like, you're gonna hear about it, essentially, and, like, that she basically went into detail about what happened, and she's like, you're probably gonna hear about it because it had already spread back in the States, but everyone was like, don't tell Dudley. Like, we got to figure out how to tell him, because it's like this big thing when you're deployed. Like, mental
You gotta
health
be
is a
really
huge thing in the
careful.
military.
Yeah.
I knew
Breaking
people
news
that,
like that.
took their own life.
Really?
It's a normal thing.
So more people are, like, actually taking their own lives in the military than in combat, or, like, than, like, passing in combat.
At that point, probably.
Wow.
It probably even more now because they've pulled out, of a lot of places. But yeah, and so it was just a really hazy time.
I'm so
I
sorry.
can remember the first few, like, months that we were dating. That was back when, like, Man Crush Monday was a thing. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh, yeah.
Where you
Yeah.
would post, like, your man. And so I had posted him. It was when we could finally, because there for a while he was still trying to get the divorce. Like,
Get her to sign the paperwork and, like,
Because
get
she
all
wasn't
that stuff
signing it.
done. Yeah. So it wasn't.
So when you found out, you knew the marriage was over.
Yeah.
And so you're
Yeah.
going through with that, and that she wouldn't sign, I guess.
She wouldn't sign, but he was single. They weren't living together. She had moved back home, and, like,
Yeah.
that's when we met. And so we were, not trying to cause any waves or drama. But once it was, like, official, I posted a Man Crush Monday, and, like, I just remember her sister commenting on my Instagram post and tagging her in it.
Oh.
And she was like, "Isn't this your man?" And mind you, she was, like, 9 months pregnant at the time with somebody else's child.
Oh my gosh.
And I did not say anything
Kinda cringe
because
looking back.
I felt like I didn't want to, like, lower myself to their standards.
Yeah.
But clearly she was not his man anymore, and she lost that privilege when she did what she did. So I just didn't say anything, and I just deleted the comment. But I'll never forget that, because I just feel like the beginning of our relationship from both sides, we had so much going against us. You know?
I hate that you both went through that, but honestly, learning that gives me so much more context to these short videos that people see on the internet, where it's like, you guys both know what it's like to come from
A broken
unhealthy,
relationship.
broken relationships,
Yeah.
Right.
and then to feel like that security in a relationship, that love and that trust, and, like, wanting to, like, show each other affection, like, that has to be, like,
Yeah.
bliss.
It
Yeah.
is. It's funny because, like, I see a lot of people saying, like, oh, they just post fetish content.
I see that.
Wait,
That's
what?
a new thing.
Fetish.
They
how-
think
yeah.
they think our content's fetish, and it's, like, really confusing.
I don't know if they mean fetish for women. Like, to have a perfect relationship.
Oh,
or if
I think they think
I don't know which one because they don't make it clear.
Yeah, you honestly, like, you do the most. I'm like, man, like, watching some of your videos, I'm like, man, I definitely could do
It's just my love language, though.
Or it's that they think that I'm acting like a kid on purpose for some reason.
Yeah, that could be it, too. They're not very clear.
Yeah, and I just have to say that, like you were saying, because we came from such broken relationships prior, I have opened myself up more with him. So I am able to have, like, what would you call that? I don't know. When you are able to just act really happy and giddy and bubbly.
It's like when you baby talk with your partner in private, or you like heighten your voice. Like when I'm talking to Ellie, my voice naturally goes up like 3 octaves. I don't think, I'm not like, I'm going to heighten my voice 3 octaves. It just happens.
Don't think about it. Yeah. It's just natural.
And so Kay just naturally lets loose and shows her real emotions, and then people get upset, about.
They're like, this is clearly fetish content. And I'm like, are you joking?
Are you turned on
to
by
be
this?
able to think.
She's like eating a carrot cake.
Ew.
I'm like, if your brain is immediately going to that,
That's
I'm worried about you.
Honestly,
God.
I think that's where a lot of the more negative comments probably come from, is just like people speaking out of their own, like,
Your
bad
own
situations, your own negative thoughts.
Yeah.
So,
projecting. They're like projecting their own thoughts. And so I just kind of laugh about it, but it's just so funny that people go there.
It is. That's weird. But yeah, that's so, we say we both were like standoffish. That's why we both had a really bad situation. And then we were like, oh, we want to be together, but we don't trust relationships.
It was pretty soon at that point.
Yeah. How long did you wait? Because I feel like going through all of that, were you scared?
It was a few months.
Or were you like, oh, this is the person I want to, I just want to escape from my past and cling to this new person because they feel safe and it feels like home and they understand me and our personalities make sense together. Like, how did you go about recovery from leaving a damaged past?
So both, right? So like because you think like the rebound. Like I don't like to call Kay a rebound, but you think that like you naturally want comfort from somewhere else and you lose it and you want to replace it.
Yeah.
But I'm also a very like, I put thought into everything I do. And so I'm like, I really like Kay. I really want to like get to know her more. I really want to be in a relationship with her. But I don't want to have anything to do with women ever again. And I don't trust women. And I will not have anything to do with women. And so it was just this game of like inching closer and closer, to finally breaking down all those walls that had been built up, I guess.
I think I was a little bit more open to starting a relationship because for me, our divorce was finalized in April and we met in November. So it had been a little while for me and
that was after the finalized. That wasn't even like the separating and
and even though I was hesitant at first, at that like 3-month mark, I was like, I really want to like pursue this. I want to see where this goes because I really care for you and like we just mesh so well as friends. And I think that's really why we have such a good relationship is because like he truly is my best friend. I know people say that, but like I don't even really have friends. I really don't. And like I'm not just saying that. I don't have girlfriends because we are just like always working, we're always together, and he is my best friend. If I need help with like what clothes to wear, I go to him. Like,
say whatever you think.
Yeah, he's so much help.
This portion of today's episode is sponsored by Liquid IV. Matt, have you ever tried to invent a new you for the new year?
I have.
How is that going so far?
I failed dry January.
Actually, I'm pretty sure that people do tend to take Liquid IV when they're little.
Wait, you're right, because it helps you hydrate, and that's like really important to break a hangover.
Oh, does it help you hydrate?
Yes.
It helps you hydrate 3 times the electrolytes of the leading sports drink, plus 8 vitamins and nutrients for everyday wellness.
My dad told me about this. People actually will get IVs after like a hangover because getting hydrated is like the cure to being hungover. Like you're dehydrated when you drink alcohol.
It helps you hydrate 2 times faster than water alone.
Wow.
And now, you guys, they have sugar-free ones.
Ooh.
So I literally have Liquid IV every single day. I swear to you, it keeps me, it's something to look forward to because I'm already drinking so much water, it gets kind of boring. This is yummier, makes me more hydrated. And plus, I will say, I also think it helps me as a breastfeeding mom. I get dehydrated all the time, and I think it keeps the milk flowing because I am so hydrated.
Question for you, though. Which flavor is the best? Because if you don't say peach,
No,
you're
it's
wrong.
the grape one.
No, it's peach.
No, it's the grape.
Peach is the best Liquid IV flavor.
It's the sugar-free grape.
You guys let us know in the comments which flavor is better because
It's like
definitely
green grape.
the peach is amazing. I don't even like peaches
No, the peach
that
is
much.
great. The peach is grape. I've been on a lemon lime kick personally.
Grape though,
I heard there's some kind of cherry one I want to try too.
Okay.
To rehydrate yourself for the new year, grab your Liquid IV Hydration Multiplier sugar-free in bulk nationwide at Costco.
Okay.
Or get 20% off your first order when you go to liquidiv.com and use code UNPLANNED at checkout. That's 20% off your
20%.
first order when you shop Better Hydration today using promo code UNPLANNED at liquidiv.com.
Thank you, Liquid IV. Now, back to the episode.
What advice would you guys give to people who might be in a toxic relationship and maybe they're seeing warning signs that like their partner might be cheating on them, or I don't know, like, was there anything that you saw that was a warning sign that you should have, looking back, like, gotten out of that relationship immediately?
No, not really. I see, like, that's my situation's weird because I wasn't physically there. And so, I mean, that happens a lot in the military, right? I mean, cheating in the military is a super common thing on both sides. The military member and the spouse.
Okay.
They're separated a lot, and they're in these new environments, and they're meeting all these new people, and, you know, so it's hard to say in that situation. I think if they're trying, you know, if the person that you're in a relationship they're like, you can tell they're trying, then I don't know. I'd say you're probably good.
It was a really weird situation for him, I feel like, because he was like living like everything was good. You know, it was kind of random, I feel like.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a blindside.
So I mean, it was just out of nowhere.
Yeah, it was a blindside for sure.
And was it somebody that you knew?
Yeah, they worked with me. Yeah.
Like over in Afghanistan?
Well, it was more than, well, no, because they were in Afghanistan. Well, they were back home.
Okay.
It was multiple people, but
they didn't know. She didn't know who.
She didn't know who the dad was
from multiple people.
But
that he knew.
Either way, I don't know. I don't really have any advice for how you would detect that. I wouldn't have advice for
looking back.
Cheating. I don't know how I would have.
I do have advice for red flags in general with like my situation.
Yeah.
If y'all want to hear. It's not as juicy as cheating probably, but I feel like for me, with the red flags that I should have seen were control. And so I wasn't allowed to have friends at all. Like, even though I wanted them and I wanted to go, we lived in my hometown. And so I went to high school there, knew all these people. And I kind of like slowly was cut off from everybody. He didn't want me to go to college in my hometown. It was a community college because I might see boys that I went to school with. I didn't have access to our money up until he deployed because I had to have access to money at that point because he wasn't there. You know, it's just a lot of control. And I don't know, obviously I think it stemmed from insecurities and him feeling like he would lose me, I guess. I tried to understand his thought process on why he was like that, but definitely you can't control your partner. You can't put restraints on their money, like not even having access to the card so you can go grocery shopping or having friends or going out to eat. And if I did go out to eat, I would have to text him the whole time to make sure he knew I was not doing something. It's like an insecurity
kind of thing.
Really?
If I was going to hang out with somebody, I had to send pictures. I mean, it was like...
That was an actual requirement. Like, if you hang out with a friend, you need to send a picture.
And if I didn't, he'd find me and be outside, and he'd tell me to come outside because he found me at their house and wanted me to come outside and talk to him. 900 phone calls in a row if I didn't answer. So I think those are red flags for sure.
Those are the obvious red flags.
I feel like there's someone listening right now who's in that same situation literally right now.
Yeah.
And they see all the red flags, but they're too scared to leave and to seek help. What would you say to that person?
I would say that as hard as it may feel like it is in that moment, 10 years from now, you will be so glad that you left, because it takes seven times for somebody to leave an abusive relationship before it sticks. That's like the statistic, I think.
Like leaving and coming back? Leaving and coming back. Because I, for one, left and came back so many times, including when I was pregnant. I left multiple times and came back. So I think if you finally are able to leave, you just have to know in 10 years, in 5 years even, 3 years, you're going to be so happy that you did. Because it does get better, so much better. And who knows, like maybe your person is waiting and they're also going through something and they need to find you as well. So I have peace knowing that I feel like I made the right decision.
I think something that surprises me knowing more about your guys' like past is that you were so willing to enter into another marriage. Like, I could see where people be like, okay, well, we'll just stay together, but marriage altogether, it doesn't work. But the fact that you guys, like, you dated for a few years before you got married, 2 years. So I feel like that's a pretty standard amount of time, even short in some people's minds. Like, how did your view of marriage stay, like, something that you wanted to pursue?
I think we just, we dated for 2 years, but we lived together for a year of that.
Which I know is kind of like something
some people say you should do, but I think you should. I think you should live together before you get married, for sure.
Especially coming from our past, like, I had to be sure that I wasn't getting myself into something else.
And so we weren't married yet, but we had already learned each other. We had been together day and night for a year. And so at that point, yes, it's like a contract to, like, be married. But if you didn't sign the contract, like, by law, aren't you married anyway after, like, so many years of living together?
Yeah.
So
something
common
like
law.
that.
It's like common law.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, the biggest moment would have been the moment we decided to live together, right?
Yeah.
That would have been the biggest, like,
commitment, because we moved all our things together and got a place together.
Yeah.
So
whose idea was that?
It kind of just happened. Kay had moved.
I was kind of going to be homeless there for a minute.
Oh, no.
And he was like, like, we want to move in together at some point anyways, let's just do it. And that's kind of how it happened. It was not really planned. It wasn't how we were going to do it, but it was something that we felt like made the most sense at that time.
And you were pretty young too. Like, I guess you were 22, 23 when that change probably happened. So I'm curious too, as far as, like, things with kids or, like, thinking about having kids. What was the conversation like there?
Yeah, I think at first it was definitely like, we want to have our own relationship and, like, not have any more kids and not try for kids. At a point, we did start trying once we got in Alabama. I had found out in the military I couldn't have kids.
Well, that it was going to be hard.
That it was going to be hard to have kids.
It would be incredibly hard for him to have
kids.
kids.
By a doctor in the military, they were basically like, we don't know. Like, it'll be really hard or it won't happen. And so Kay knew, I guess, going into it, that might not be a possibility.
But I had my girl. I had a baby. And so as much as I wanted to share that with him, I think that never made me not want to be with him, if that makes sense. Because, I mean, it wasn't his fault. And I loved him. But obviously, I think I always wanted more children, but we didn't seriously start trying until, like, a few years in. Yeah. Because we really tried to focus on our relationship at first. I feel like it's super important. Something I didn't do with my last relationship is focus on a relationship. And I think if I had done that, which I'm glad I didn't because I have my daughter, but if I had done that, I think I probably wouldn't have had a baby because I would have seen the red flags a lot sooner, or I would have had a friend or a parent or somebody tell me before I got pregnant. But all that being said, I am so glad I have my daughter, and she's a blessing, and all that was meant to happen because of her. But with Taylor, I did want to focus more on, like, just focusing on us and having a healthy relationship before we brought another life into it. Right. And once I felt comfortable and I knew, like, our relationship was strong, it was really, at that point, it was like, okay, let's be financially stable now. Yeah. And once we were financially stable, it was like, okay, I really want to start
financially stable enough, I guess.
Enough.
We were like, let's get to the point where we can't afford to live ourselves. Because, like, we were still paycheck to paycheck when we started trying, but we were like, but we are managing it, and we are, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And honestly, I didn't think it would happen because I had
when
such
I say we were trying, but it was like,
it.
I didn't think I could have kids, so it was like, let's try, but
could take a few years.
No high expectation.
Finding out you were pregnant, was that, like, total shock?
So shocking.
What made you even test?
So we had been at my daughter's dance competition the week before, and we went and ate at the hotel we were staying at. And then that night I woke up in the middle of the night so sick. I never threw up, but I was so sick. And I was like, that's so weird. Like, I wonder if it was the food we ate. That's, like, where my mind went. Well, then, like, a week later, I'm sitting at home. It was right before we moved into this apartment. So we were sitting on a blow-up mattress in the living room floor. And I started feeling nauseous again. And I was like, I was a chronic pregnancy test taker. So I had pregnancy tests at home already. So I just went in there and I took a test and it was positive. And I was like, are you joking? And I didn't tell him because I wanted to, like, surprise him. So I waited obviously till like
we got here.
Yeah, till we got to this apartment, and I didn't tell him. So I like held on to that secret, and that was the hardest thing I've ever had to do. Because not only was I nauseous and had to play it off as like I would just keep eating these bad things. I don't know. But
then the bloating.
And yeah, the bloating. I bloat really bad. I look pregnant if I eat a burrito. Like, it's really bad.
Which actually helps you because I wasn't even the slightest bit.
Oh yeah, he did. He just thought I was
I was just
bad.
so used to Kay bloating up, and she'd be like, "Oh, I'm bloated. I had dinner. I'm bloated." She's tiny, so she bloats really.
But like people would say in our stuff all the time, way prior to me being pregnant, they were like, "Oh, she must be pregnant," and I'm like, "No, that's just Texas Roadhouse rules." Okay?
Someone got it right
like,
at some point, you know.
Oh yeah, and then but towards the end when we were about to announce it, people were like catching on. They're like, "She's definitely pregnant. She's pregnant." And then we announced it, and they were like, "I knew it from the last video. I knew it." And I'm like, "Yeah, because I'm like 5 weeks, and everybody already knows." But
how long did you keep it a secret from him?
It was like.
It was only like 4 or 5 days.
Yeah,
we were literally
days.
about.
4 or 5 days?
Wait, that's a long time.
It was hard. It was so hard.
Burst.
I know.
We were literally about to move.
So Kinsley knew because she was there the day I took the test, and she wanted to help plan this like epic thing. So it was really cool because I actually got to have like this special moment with her.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what was her reaction?
She cried. I even cried thinking about it. But she cried, and of course, like I was like, okay, well, we have to think of a way to tell Taylor because like he's gonna be completely shocked. And so she got to have like this whole like say so and like how we planned it. We went and bought like this onesie at Target and some little pacifiers, and it was really cool. She helped me set up the camera and everything, and yeah, it was really special. I'm glad I got to experience that with her because I was so scared bringing another child after 12 years of her being my only kid. I was really worried that she was gonna like resent me or be hurt or jealous, and surprisingly, like it's like she was waiting this whole time for it. She was so happy, and I was so relieving that she didn't hate me for having another baby. I don't know if that's like something you like can relate to, but I feel like having a second child, you feel like your heart is like not big enough to love both until they're there, and then you're like, oh my gosh, I totally get it now. Like I love them equally with all of my heart. Your heart just literally grows. It's like so true what they say. But yeah, I was definitely worried that she would be like resentful towards me.
And with an age gap like that, I can't even like. It must have had to feel like you were starting from square
over.
one. Like, did you even? Were there
were so many things I didn't remember. There's so many. For one, the pregnancy was so different. Like from the things I do remember about my first, like the pregnancy itself was totally different. The breastfeeding journey has been totally different. But just like from the very beginning, like there were so many things I didn't even remember. The baby gadgets and all the baby stuff nowadays is so different from 2011. I mean, they didn't have baby wraps back then. They didn't have really high-tech video like cameras. What are those called? I can't think of the word.
baby
monitors. Oh my gosh, I couldn't think of that. But baby monitors, they didn't even have like the cool video ones back then. They had like the little walkie talkies, you know? So like it's just a totally different time. I mean, it doesn't seem like that long ago, but really 2011, that's a long time ago. What'd you do?
She's making all sorts of noises over there. I don't know if we can hear it on the mics, but it's so
Probably
funny.
Can.
Just like our boy.
Oh my gosh.
What's funny is like sometimes I'll be holding my youngest Augie and he'll like fart really loud and Abby's like Matthew James and I'll be like
I can't tell
I'm like
who it
I
is.
swear that was not
can't
me.
tell.
I'm like I swear that was our
But
newborn.
no, sometimes it is him 50% of the
Yeah,
time. Though.
no, but
and
it's
he
like-
always goes, Augie. I'm like, you're such a dad. That's disgusting.
That's so funny.
He gets his farts from his dad. Matt,
It's
that's
funny.
it.
She gets hers from him for sure.
Oh my gosh. Do you guys fart in front of each other?
Kay doesn't fart.
I
This
knew
is
she was
real.
one of those girls. I knew you were a non-farter.
No, listen.
I don't believe it.
Listen. Okay.
Listen, Linda, listen.
So really though, I don't like.
She actually
it's
doesn't.
not my fault. I would if I could, and I want to.
It's because you're.
I want to, guys.
What is wrong
She
with
has
you?
IBS.
She's a Disney princess. She can't fart.
She literally doesn't though.
Wait.
He has to do the bicycle with me to try to make it happen, and it
Oh
won't
my
happen.
gosh.
I don't fart either. It's crazy.
Wait, if you're
Okay,
going
but I'm not the
if
only
you're
one.
going number 2, are you guys like the couple that like you have to have the door closed? Like it's not allowed to be in the bathroom at the same time?
We don't have to.
No.
I just prefer not to.
Oh, okay,
But-
that's nice. Matt literally thinks it's the perfect time to start a
I just
conversation.
want to walk in and just like have a
I tell
conversation
him all
with
the
Abby.
time. I'm like, if I'm getting ready, and he's like, I have to go, and I'm like, just go.
I mean,
he's
I
like,
will.
I can't. You're right here, and I'm like, okay. And like, he will sometimes, but most of the time, he likes to have like his time, in the bathroom, and he doesn't want me in there.
I don't know.
I think
It's
he
not,
feels uncomfortable to push it out or
Yeah,
something. I don't know.
there's muscles that I just want to tighten alone, and just let it all out, and then.
Matt, you're a little too comfortable with me, I think. This portion of today's episode is sponsored by Haya. There's so many confusing things about being a parent, I'm gonna be honest with you. So many things happen in their early life, and you're making so many decisions related to your child's health. It's a big responsibility, so you want to make sure that you're making good decisions, and one of those things that was kind of confusing to navigate was vitamins for our children. Haya is a pediatrician approved superpowers chewable vitamin. Most children's vitamins are filled with 5 grams of sugar and can contribute to a variety of health issues. Haya is made with 0 gummy junk, yet it tastes great and is perfect for picky eaters. Formulated with the help of nutritional experts, Haya is pressed with a blend of 12 organic fruits and vegetables, then supercharged with 15 essential vitamins and minerals, including vitamin D, B12, C, zinc, folate, and many others to help support immunity, energy, brain function, mood, concentration, teeth, bones, and more. It's kind of an all-in-one great multivitamin for your little ones, and it can be a really fun, tasty ritual for them too. I think it's something they'd really look forward to. Just call it a treat, and they'll love it.
Yeah, that's nice that the vitamins don't have a ton of sugar in them, because I've been thinking about that. Like, they
Yeah.
load a lot of sugar into things for kids, and I appreciate that those vitamins aren't loaded up with sugar.
It's frustrating. They sneak sugar into literally everything that's designed for children. And we've worked out a special deal with Haya for their best-selling children's vitamin. Receive 50% off your first order. 50%.
That's a lot.
To claim this deal, you must go to hiyahealth.com/unplanned. This deal is not available on their regular website. Go to hiyahealth.com/unplanned and get your kids the full body nourishment they need to grow into healthy adults.
Back to the episode.
I think you're pretty comfortable with me too, Abby. Come on.
I already told them I don't fart. It never happens.
Oh my gosh, Abby farts all the time. So she'll we've talked
It's
about this on the
bad when I'm
podcast before.
pregnant. It's
but sometimes
really bad when I'm pregnant.
sometimes I'll move the sheets in bed and I'm like, whoa! Like it's just like a freaking something like just comes
moving
upon me.
right along there.
It's okay, because where I don't fart, I make up in other areas. Like when I go to the bathroom, like he always makes fun of me. I'm just going to tell this really quick, and this is probably like TMI and nobody wants to hear this, but I have to take medication to go to the bathroom.
She has the IBS.
I have IBS,
it
and it's like
actually
the
is.
competition.
Okay.
It's like the what's the word I'm thinking of?
The kind where she doesn't go.
The kind where I don't go.
She won't go
for
for
like a
days
week
and
and a
days
half,
and days.
and then all of a sudden I
Whoa.
go, and then it's like I'm sick because I haven't gone in a week and a half. So that's another reason I don't fart. But
That's why. That is the reason.
But I do take medication to help me go every single day, and so I have my morning time, and that's like I go every single morning, and he knows like he's gonna take care of her for a minute because I'm gonna go to the bathroom. First thing when I stand up, gravity hits me. I gotta go.
Wow.
And so then I just have my time, and so he always makes fun of me because I have like a schedule.
That's
Yeah.
kind of nice, though.
That's actually really nice.
I
I'm
don't
I
get
jealous.
rid of
didn't
the day
say that
usually.
because you obviously would choose to not have
Yeah.
that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But to be able to plan that, because sometimes it hits at bad times. Like I was talking with my sister-in-law the other day, when you're nursing and if that happens, oh, it's torturous.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. No, I get it, because before I took medication, it would hit me at the worst time. And I'm like, are you kidding? Like, I have a really funny story. When we were dating, I was at his apartment, and we had this gas station across the road from his apartment, and I had to go. Like, it just hit me, and I hadn't gone in like a week. And I was like, do you want like a Gatorade? I'm going to go grab a Gatorade. He's like, well, I have he had like Propel or something. And I was like, no, I really want a Gatorade. And so I like went across the street to get a Gatorade. And I like text my mom. I'm like, Mom, I don't know what to do. I'm never going to be able to poop in front of him. And I didn't know what to do. And so I just, every time I'd go to the bathroom, I would go over to the Easy Go across
Man,
the
she
street.
likes Gatorades a lot.
I really like Gatorades, you guys. I would go over there all the time.
That gas station name is
Oh,
hilarious.
like you would
too.
literally
Easy Go.
leave his apartment to go to the bathroom.
Easy Go. Like, hey, I'm gonna go over to
Easy
Easy
Go.
Go real quick.
She was
How did you
lying.
not catch on?
I don't know. Yeah.
I'm just now
That's
now getting
hilarious.
And
That's
the gas
funny.
station workers are like, no,
What-
it's
what-
her.
It's working. She's
Not
back.
this girl again.
They
She
start
gets the
bringing the mop and the
Gatorade. She
bucket
blows
out.
up the restroom.
I think the thing that got me caught eventually was I didn't bring a Gatorade back, and he was like, "Where's the Gatorade?" I was like, "Well, I actually drank it already. I drank it on the way here."
On the way
he,
back?
He knew.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
yeah, it was so funny. And then eventually, obviously, we got
There was thin
more
walls. It
comfortable.
was a very like low cost apartment.
It
So
was
the walls were paper.
not a good apartment. Not a good apartment. It was paper thin.
Now
so like
you
knew.
could go in there and I wouldn't hear a thing, and it would
It's
just
great. Like, yeah, it's so many walls in between us.
I love that I now know that about you guys.
Yes.
Now
I feel,
everybody's gonna know
I
that
feel
about
so
us.
close. Like now that we've had that discussion, I feel like we are so close, and I've known you guys for.
bonded.
It's crazy how quickly that can happen. You just talk to somebody for an hour, and you talk about like flatulence, and
It
then
always
it's like,
goes
wow,
there.
we've known each other for like years. It's like we go way back.
Yeah,
I'm
it
curious,
always gets to that conversation.
I wanted to bring up something that you said earlier. You mentioned how you thought it was like the right decision to move in together before you guys got married, and I'm just like so interested in like what that was like for you guys.
I think in our case, like, you know, us both having those events happen, like for you guys, you were like high school sweethearts, and like, so it was very natural to wait, right? Because you already didn't live together through all of high school and stuff, right? And so
Yeah.
it almost made more sense to wait until that moment. For us, we had these like, you know, horrible things happen, and so I felt like both of us wanted to move in together first and kind of had that buffer where it's like, okay, well, if we hate each other in the morning, like, let's figure it out before we get married again and do all this again, you know? And I think we both agreed on that. We wanted
From the
that
get-go,
time
we
to
wanted-
learn
Yeah.
all those little details.
But
What-
if we hadn't had those relationships prior, I don't know that we would have done
Yeah,
that.
we might not have done
probably
that
would
way.
have waited.
And also, I know like culture around America is so different from state to state and where you grow up. Because like with us, none of our friends were like dating anybody, so like us getting married was like very different. Did you guys have friends that were living together or friends that were married, or what did your situation look like in the culture that you guys grew up in?
The military will pay you more if you're married.
Yes.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so, yeah, everyone was getting married, but I don't think it
Yeah.
was like, oh, well, you know, I want to live together first or I want to get married first. I think it was like, well, I was with this person before I joined, so I might as well get married and get that extra few $100 a month.
Why is that? Why does the military incentivize marriage?
I don't remember now if they pay you more for kids or not, or if it's just being married, but I
They
have
pay you more for your
each kid?
BAH, which is what they give you for rent, and like to your living allowance.
but food
essentially.
too, right? They give you like a food allowance. It's more too.
Do they give you a food allowance?
I think it is because you have a wife that you're supporting or kids that you're supporting, and so they give you more. Like, it's the right thing to do to give you more, but then everyone in the military gets married for the wrong reason. You know what I
okay.
mean?
That
Because
totally
like, a
makes
single
sense.
guy living in the dorms doesn't need the same amount of money as a married person living in a house with 2 kids.
100%. By the way, I don't know if I said this already, but thank you for your service to our
Thank you,
country.
yeah.
By the way, like that's so admirable and so awesome that you did that. So thank you.
Yeah, it was a interesting experience, and I mean, but it got me. That's how I went through college. So the 4 years in the military was.
Yep.
That's how I paid for college. So
Did you guys both go to college?
Kay went to a different college than me.
I did school for dental assisting.
Okay.
I did go to college prior to that. I was going to be a nurse. I wanted to go to nursing school, so I did like all of my prerequisites for nursing, and then ultimately decided not to do nursing. And it wasn't until a few years later that I was like, I want to pursue dental, because I'd always found dental stuff interesting, and I like teeth. So I'm really glad I did, because honestly, like, I was very passionate about it.
She's
and
really good at.
I would still be doing it if it wasn't for like some autoimmune conditions that I have, and now wanting to be able to stay home with her.
Yeah.
But yeah, I loved it a lot.
I think you guys have opened up about your autoimmune conditions on TikToks. I've seen that in like the captions of your videos. Enlighten me on what that exactly means, because I'll be honest, I have no idea what an autoimmune condition is. So how do you explain that, I guess?
So basically, my immune system is like attacking my body, and it's like overactive. It doesn't realize. So basically, like when you have the flu, your immune system attacks the flu virus and gets rid of it. It's like your little army. My immune system thinks everything is the flu. So it'll attack my organs. It'll attack my skin. Well, your skin's an organ, I guess, but it attacks like everything, and it isn't always active. So sometimes I'll be like in remission. So when I was pregnant with her, I was in full remission. I felt great. After the hormones and everything kind of dipped back down at about 6 weeks, when she was about 6 weeks old, that's when it all hit me again, and it was like, it's been a lot worse than it was even before I was pregnant. But yeah, occasionally I'll have flares, and sometimes I feel great, but then I'll wake up one morning and I feel like I have the flu, because that's really the only way I can describe it. Is I feel like when you have really bad body aches with a fever, like when you have the flu or something, that's what it feels like. I wake up and I ache all over my body. I just hurt. And sometimes I'll even have like a low grade fever. Like that's normal.
Like yesterday you had a fever.
I had a fever yesterday, and we almost contacted you guys because I took a COVID test because I was like,
really?
Am I having a flare or do I have COVID because I felt that bad?
Because the autoimmune had...
It literally feels so similar. Obviously it was negative, and I feel fine today. But it just hits me sometimes where I'm down and I cannot function.
And she's getting payback now from not having any symptoms during the pregnancy because right postpartum, it actually, when your hormones dip and everything, it gets really bad. So
yeah, my rheumatologist actually told me, she's like, expect worse flares now than you've ever had.
You're like, add that to the rest of postpartum.
Right? Exactly.
So it's been a really rough week, actually.
Yeah.
It's been a really hard week.
Yeah.
Is there any medicine you can take, or is that not something you can do while you're breastfeeding?
So I can take, the only medication I can take right now is the same thing I was taking while I was pregnant, but it's only like an added, like really I need that plus like an infusion every month or a shot every 2 weeks. Those are like the immune suppressant medications that I need to be taking, but I can't take those. So I'm basically only down to like the pill that I take every day, and it doesn't put them in remission.
And it might be affecting your supply right now. Her supply has dipped in the last 3 days bad, like worrisome. We haven't talked about that, but yeah, I heard in the last few days her supply is like more than halved.
That's the most stressful thing, at least for me. Like constantly worrying about milk supply will be the end of me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I tell Matt every single day, I'm like, I think it's going, like it's gone, and then it just feels like the end of the world. But then I remember feeling that a million times with my first, and then now he's eating solids, and it's like, why did I stress so much about that? It's not the end of the world, but it just can feel like that sometimes.
It definitely does. I stress so much because in the beginning, like she did lose weight, and my supply did take a dip in the beginning from her tongue tie because I didn't realize, but she wasn't eating enough because she couldn't suck enough out, and so she just started losing like all this weight, and thankfully we got it revised and she started eating again. But it was definitely scary there for a minute, and now I'm like losing more supply, and I'm like, am I going to be back to that? Is she going to start losing weight?
How has this time around been different than your first pregnancy and first time through postpartum? Is it similar? Is it different? Is it hard to remember since it's been 12 years?
Yes, it is so hard.
Yes, all the above?
Yes, all the above. I honestly don't remember a lot about my postpartum journey with my first. A lot of that whole era of my life is kind of a blur, to be honest. I don't know if I block out a lot of it, but I don't remember so much, and it stinks because I wish I could, like, in a lot of ways I do feel like a first-time mom again sometimes because I'm like, well, how did I do this? Or did Kinsley do this or that? And it's been so different. It's been challenging because I'm relearning a lot. Like 12 years is a long time. I don't think people realize how long 12 years is. So yeah, it's been different. Now I will say breastfeeding my first it came very easily and very naturally, which I'm learning is like a blessing because so many people struggle with breastfeeding, and at the time I just had no idea that it could even be hard. I was like, oh, they're hungry, stick them on, then go about your day. Like it just wasn't hard for me the first time, and then I learned very quickly with her that it can definitely be hard. And it was like I was really close to just going to formula because I was crying every single time. It hurt so bad, and she was crying because she wasn't eating enough. And I definitely feel for all those moms out there that struggle with breastfeeding, that want to do it so badly and then they ultimately can't. Like I feel so bad for them, and I feel so I can connect with that a lot because I get it now.
Tay, how did that affect you? What were you thinking in those moments where Kaylee really wanted to breastfeed and it just wasn't going the way that she had planned?
It was really stressful. It was emotionally taxing in multiple ways. One, because Ellie wasn't getting fed, and so she was constantly whining. And like, this was my first time with a newborn. Like, I started with Kinsley at 3, but nothing at newborn stage. And so I was just like, is this it? Is this what people talk about? Is she supposed to be up every 30 minutes, like crying? And right as you release the latch, she starts crying again. And I'm like, this is, it was just confusion at all angles for me, and stress, and I was worried, and Kay was stressed, and I was like, she was supposed to be the expert. Why does she not know what's going on?
Yeah, he kept asking me, he's like, is this normal?
What am I supposed to do?
What do we do? Is this normal? When does it get better? And I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't remember this happening with Kinsley. Like, she slept great from the beginning. Like, I had it really easy with her, and this is not what I remember.
This portion of today's episode is sponsored by Factor. Something that Matt and I have talked about a lot recently is the mental load that comes with preparing meals 3 times a day for our entire family.
Yep.
And that's in fact, I am the meal for one of the members of our family.
You are actually
5 times a day.
That's impressive. Can I just give you a high five for being
Thank
the meal
you.
for one of our family members?
And you know what? It makes me hungry to be the meal because I have to eat for 2.
Okay.
And that's why I'm really thankful to Factor. They are ready-to-eat meal delivery services that take the stress out of meal planning and sets you up for success in the new year. What's great about Factors, Matt, is that there's literally no prep work. You
That's
just
so nice.
throw them in the microwave.
That's literally it.
That's all you do.
There's nothing else.
You don't even have to think about it, but they have great offerings. They have actually over 35 meals to choose from per week, including options like keto, calorie smart, vegan, veggie, and more. No more frantic lunch preps and rush dinners because Factor's 2-minute meals are your secret weapon.
If you want to be a really nice, brother or sister-in-law or just like whatever, somebody that you know in your life is going to have a baby, get them some Factor meals.
For real.
Like we've done that for our friends and family. We've gotten them meals when they are going to have a big life change. Maybe somebody is about to have a surgery. Get them some pre-made Factor meals and then they won't have to worry about it. They won't have to stress about it. They'll know that they can just throw it in the microwave. Done deal.
Yeah, and they help you stay on your goals because they have protein plus, keto, all those things.
Yeah.
And it's great that Factor is flexible with you. So if you sign up for Factor, but then you go out of town or you have a weird week, you can change your order up every week with plans from 4 to 18 meals per week or pause and reschedule your deliveries anytime.
That's awesome.
Head to factormeals.com/unplanned50 and use code unplanned50 to get 50% off. That's code unplanned50 at factormeals.com/unplanned50 to get 50% off.
Back to the episode.
Switching the subject, like, what do your families think about you guys right now? Like, I feel like you've had such a massive life change just in the past year, basically. TikTok wasn't even an app that existed 5 years ago, and now that is your job. So how do you explain that to your grandma? What do you do? What do you say?
Well, I will say my family, I don't know that a lot of them even use TikTok. I think I've gotten some of them on TikTok because of us. I think that's probably true for a lot of people. But they're very proud of us, very proud, very supportive. We've never had to hide our type of content, which we do very wholesome content anyways. But we've just always been ourselves and been hey, this is our job, and they've always supported that.
They were even supportive in the beginning when
we had nobody following us. They were our first followers. They were the people who liked all of our stuff. His mom still, every single day when we post our reel, she shares it to Facebook. Every single day. Never fails. She shares it to Facebook. And I don't know how many people are seeing that, but it's just the support is there.
So sweet.
It's so there.
Really, really sweet.
Yeah. I think they're proud of us.
What do you think is the biggest misconception about you guys?
Oh, that's a tough one.
I don't know. Give me a list of misconceptions.
I'm kind of just throwing that on you. I don't know why I asked that, but I was maybe I should ask that question. Maybe there's something that
I will say the biggest misconception, and this is coming from my mom's self.
Okay.
That I don't love my first daughter and that I'm hiding her.
Oh, yeah.
Whoa. That's probably the biggest misconception I can think of. Because, it does hurt me. I think about it every single day. Because the comments, they get to you when people start saying that. Even though I know that that's not true, people from an outside perspective are well, she doesn't show her daughter, so she must not love her. But I don't think these people understand, number one, my daughter is 12. She has a choice. If she doesn't want to be on our podcast, on our content, then I'm not going to force her to do that. Same with Ellie. Once Ellie's old enough to make that decision, I will never force my kids to be a part of this if they don't want to be.
Yeah.
And she's at an age where her friends follow us, and she's not probably particularly interested in putting her life out there for all her friends to dissect and be oh, I saw that you did this the other day or whatever. So I completely respect it and I understand. But the other thing is her father doesn't want her on it for his own reasons, and that's his thing. So it's just, to me, just because we don't film her it has no relation to how much we love her.
Yes.
It doesn't make sense to me how people can't just understand we don't post her for her reason, her reasons. If she wants to be on there, she will be. It's not hard. It's not a hard concept, I guess.
Isn't it crazy how you can't win? Because it's like, if you show your kid, it's like, oh my gosh, they are looking out for them. They're putting their kid on the internet. They hate their kid.
Yes.
If you don't show your kid, then it's like, they're not showing their kid. They're not included. They hate their kid.
You
they're
must
a bad
not
parent.
love them. Yeah.
Like, no matter what you do, people will find a flaw in it. So I think as a parent, you just have to make the right decision, the best decision for your child. And like, 100%. That's super cool that you guys have found that for both of your children. I like so respect that. And just getting to know you, even just with the past couple of hours that we've talked, it's just like, I know that you guys are making like really good choices for your children, and it's just really, I really respect all of that. And I'm sorry that when you stay silent on something online and you do something out of protection for your child, people will find some way to misconstrue it. And that's really
they fill in the story for you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Even though it's not their place, they have no idea what's going on in reality. And I think that's.
And people will read those comments, and instead of like hearing it from us, they'll just believe what they're hearing. Like, he got a DM the other day, and it was like on his personal Instagram. So these people had to like go and find him, because we don't like put his personal Instagram out there really.
Yeah.
But they DM'd him, and they were like, you should have thought about the fact that Kay has a daughter before you married her if you didn't want her in your life. If you didn't want to post her, maybe you should have thought about that before you got married to her mom.
Because I thought I was the one that didn't want
He's not the reason that she's not in the content. I think you're thinking of her bio dad, because like, he is totally for her being in the content if she wants to be.
So someone got so frustrated that they went all the way to found my
They really wanted to tell him how it was, like, I'm going to let him know that is not a responsible thing to do, to marry somebody with a child and not want them in your content. And I'm just like, that's obvious. That is the biggest misconception, is that we don't care about her.
Yeah.
And she knows that's not true. And
that's all that matters.
That's, at the end of the day, that's what matters. Yep. She laughs at the hate comments as well.
Yeah.
So
is that hard sometimes when you see a false narrative online and you know that it's just completely made up? You know that your family knows you and knows your heart, and your friends know you and know your heart, yet there might be something that someone says that's just completely out of left field that doesn't fit at all.
That's the hardest thing, I think, for me, is like, I want to be like a keyboard warrior. I want to like tell them everything. I just want to like let it out, like, no, you're wrong, because actually, but I can't do that 500 times a day. Like, it's I couldn't
do it. Even if it was your full-time job, you couldn't do it.
Moderate those comments enough to like make that go away. Like, everybody, there's even other creators that have made videos of us not wanting to post our daughter because for some reason we don't care about her, and people saying, well, I liked them until I realized they had another daughter and they don't post her. And so at a point, you just kind of have to block all of that out, because I mean, it really starts to mess with us mentally, even though we know the kind of parents we are. We know why we're doing it. But yeah, that is 100% like the hardest part, is keeping my mouth closed and not wanting to just say everything and explain, like, no, you're wrong because of this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's so interesting too, because we just had some other friends of ours, Brooklyn and Bailey, on the podcast, and one of their sisters just doesn't like to be on camera, and so, and their videos, because their whole family, like, they come from a family of creators, that one sister just hasn't been in the videos as much in the past because of her choice, and that's just her decision. And people
they said the same thing about her parents,
literally like same so exact thing. They try to find some sort of controversy in it, when it's just like, it's really just as simple as somebody not really wanting to be on social media, because not everybody wants to be a social media personality.
My entire family, now that I think about it. We love them so much, but I don't really know if that.
We've never had Abby's parents on the podcast because her parents just don't really want to.
Yeah.
But like, my parents are hilarious, and they love, my parents love the camera. Like, they're like, let's do it. Let's do another podcast. We haven't had
my brother.
Yeah.
Like, they just don't show up in our content that much, but we love them dearly. We see them all the time. I like even forget that that's even. Yeah, and we don't think different. You don't think differently of her for not wanting to be in it. It's just like, I think people just
like in baseball
make it a huge deal.
Yeah, I think some people are like, well, I don't really like sports. That doesn't, like, just because you don't like sports doesn't mean like
change her as a person or
it's,
something.
it's just everybody has their own opinion on things, and maybe one day she's gonna decide randomly that she wants to be in it, and that's great, and she can be. and we will fully support that. And I think everybody will love that because people are so interested in her for some reason. They want to know all about her.
Here's what I think it is. At least it's for me.
Because it's a big secret.
How do you have a 12-year-old and you...
Wait, yes, that's what it is. It's like, you don't look like you're 30.
For me, I'm just like,
yes.
What?
Yeah, it is really weird, and I think that's really what threw everybody for a loop in the beginning was that...
I thought she was 21.
I thought she was
You
like
could
22
totally
years
pass for
old.
21.
Yeah, you legit, yeah.
And, well, why are they acting like this is their first pregnancy? And I think that is really what made this big, like, controversy. Like...
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Girl,
people are just obsessed with this whole idea.
At the end of the day, I want to look like you when I have a 12-year-old.
Thank you. Well, I wish I looked like you at 25, so...
Oh, stop. Now we're just going to flatter each other.
Well, Tay is taking their precious baby girl and I think swaddling her right now. But wow, this has been such a great conversation with you guys. I just really appreciate you guys opening up and being vulnerable and sharing your experiences. I'm sure that you just being genuine with your story and saying what you've said, I'm sure it's helped people that are maybe going through something similar and feeling lost and scared and hopeless. And so thank you for being willing to share your story.
Well, thank you for having us on here and letting us share our story, because I feel like we haven't really been able to, because we do short content, we haven't really had the opportunity to really talk a lot about ourselves.
Yeah.
I think people just learn about us through our reels that we post, but that's still like you're putting puzzles together. So nobody has really heard like our past or where we came from or anything. So thank you for giving us the opportunity to explain all of that.
Yeah, it's really, really, really cool learning more about you guys.
Yeah,
So.
On the outside, I just saw this happy, sweet, adorable couple.
Which you guys are.
And you are.
Which is actually the coolest part of coming here and getting to know you guys. Because in my head, I was like, how could this be? And then you meet you guys, and that's like exactly who you guys are.
And you have an amazing husband. He's like literally just being such a great dad right now with your daughter.
So
and
good.
I don't know, just really
I don't deserve
taking
him.
charge.
Oh, you're
I
an
don't.
amazing mama.
He is literally like, he's going to see this later, but he is literally like the best dad. Like, I could not ask for better.
So sweet.
Well, thank you guys for tuning in. If you haven't already followed Kay and Tay, definitely go check them out. And we'd really appreciate it if you would subscribe to the podcast, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. But until next time, 3, 2, 1, peace out, dudes.